You're listening to the What's Happening podcast with Gary Watts.
Good morning. I'm here with Adam Hahn, who's in charge of commercial construction for the Watts Group. Adam, good morning.
Well, thanks for having me, Gary. Appreciate it.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
This should be fun. So tell us a little bit about, you head up the commercial department in the Watts Group. Tell us a little bit about your background, your family, how you got started. Just roll us back to when you were a young man and getting started.
Sure. So, I was lucky enough, Gary, to grow up with a family in construction. I mean, my dad worked construction. I can remember probably starting about middle school on Saturdays to help on jobs that he was working on. And then there was always an opportunity for me every summer, every spring break, every winter break to go make good money working construction.
What did he do?
He started in framing and then went to siding. In between there, he did fiberglass tub repair, but we did everything from he'd get us projects doing roofs, re-roofs, going to framing for a summer, or like I said, siding, big siding projects. There was always something if we wanted to work. There were always hours.
So you got a taste for construction from being around your dad and working.
Yep. And it just led into, I think everybody looks back at my yearbook, my senior year, they'd see I thought I was going to be a banker because I knew I liked math. I knew I liked construction, but I liked math more. And I always said, gosh, you don't see a lot of old construction workers, so, hey, maybe I could get a job, working inside and figure it out. And my first year of college, I came back that summer to work, and my dad started having me do payroll and helping him out with estimates and doing that. And I started thinking, like, well, there's a possibility for in construction beyond just being on the labor field, all the time. So that's when I started to think, gosh, maybe I don't want to be a banker. I want to be in the office side of construction. And so it just happened to have it that after I played a couple years of football at St. Ambrose, I decided I was done playing college football, and then my mind started going, well, if I'm going to get my college degree, I really should get it in something that's specific to construction, if that's what I want to do. And so I had a great advisor at St. Ambrose who helped me find UNI. And so from there, she helped me transfer to UNI in the middle of a school year, and I was able to get into the construction management up there in that major, and it was exactly what I was looking for. It focused on everything within my major, focused on construction, whether it be estimating, reading plans, project management, contracts, all of that stuff. And it was very heavy in business as well, which I really enjoyed. I had a minor in business. I look back and kind of kick myself I didn't get my minor in real estate. But and from there, it really just set me up for everything I wanted to do. Now, I wasn't that guy out of college that said, I want a job sitting in the office 40 hours a week. I kind of came out saying, put me in the field somewhere so I can see it all and learn more about the commercial side, because I'd grown up in a heavy residential background, but I hadn't seen a lot of commercial stuff to go together. And so I was lucky enough to get in with a company that put me out in the field. I was doing a lot of stuff that was in the trailer or reading prints and corresponding with the architects or engineers, but also able to see it going firsthand right there next to me.
How did it help you starting with your dad? You learned how to work. You saw the laborers put things together, right?
Yeah. I can remember being, after working a couple of summers, that I was still taking, construction classes in high school, and we'd do stuff, and I was like, gosh, it seems silly that I'm going to shingle a shed in this class when, that's what I'm going to do all weekend or stuff
right.
like that. But it definitely set the foundation, and the basics of construction is, you learn right away.
Tell us about, you went to high school in West Branch?
Yep.
What do you remember about West Branch? High school years.
It's great being a small town that was also close to everything that Iowa City can provide. Football was always a huge thing in West Branch. I followed some really good classes of football. Obviously, the dynasties or the really good West Branch team started in the early 90s. And we were able to piggyback on kind of the end of that. We had some great coaches, and all the sports out there. I mean, they just surround themselves with really good people. And
you played with Coach Peterson, Coach Ramos, Lurch.
Yep, played for Butch and Lurch, and again they had great assistants in Barney and Brother.
Right.
They always had great people helping at the JV level, and they're just so good at teaching technique and the basics.
And you came back and you built the press box, right?
Yeah, that was fun. That was a really busy construction year, if you remember, for us. We had a lot of projects going on, and I know you and I were very passionate about wanting to give something back and do something out in West Branch, and that press box project was coming up, and so we went after that one aggressive. And as it happened, we didn't have any superintendents or whatever, so that was on my way in and on my way home at night. And sometimes in the middle of the day, I run out there to work with the subcontractors. And yeah, it's a project that I think we're both really proud that we were able to do for West Branch.
Yeah, as far as football goes, people don't probably realize this, but when we put the press box up and they put all the records, high school records at West Branch, you have about half of them on the board there. So you have quite a few anyway.
Yeah, there might be one or two there, but yeah.
So anyway, so you got to St. Ambrose, so you switched to and they played football at St. Ambrose, right?
Yep, played a couple years of football.
And then what made you went to UNI, commercial construction management, whatever, and you didn't play football.
No.
What happened there? Did you think about UNI or transferring?
When I decided I was done with football, I think I was done. In a lot of when I got to the end of high school, I thought, I really want to coach, and that was my motivation for wanting to go to play college football. I think more than that burning desire to play. And after a couple of years, I didn't know if I still really wanted to coach, and that desire wasn't there. When I got to UNI, though, I still was looking for something to keep me involved and keeping athletic or in the athletic field. So
Rugby.
I know you and I have talked, and I had been introduced to rugby when I was in high school around my brother, and so when I got to UNI, in the weight room, somebody approached me one day about rugby, and I thought, I've seen that, and yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. So why don't we give it a try? Well, 3.5 years of rugby at UNI later, I continued to play it long after, and it's something that introduced me to a lot of people, and then I think it kept me in good shape, and again, I just had a lot of fun doing that.
Did you play rugby for UNI, or was it a team?
It was so UNI was a club team, but we had some really good teams. We had some really good women's teams when I was at UNI. I think they won back-to-back national championships.
Huh.
When I was there, my senior year at UNI, we were finished second in the nation to Stanford.
Really?
In Division II rugby.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Then you furthered it and went to how long?
Yeah, I played
10 years ago.
Played till I was in my mid-30s, around the Iowa City area and on clubs, and just like I said, I got to meet a lot of people around the state of Iowa and beyond, and just I got friends that are lifelong friends that I made that connection with, and it's like any sport, it's that bond.
Yeah. So let's go back. Let's swing back out of rugby. We got football, West Branch, St. Ambrose, UNI. So when you started in commercial construction, was that Knutson?
Yeah.
Or how did you get started?
Yeah, Knutson Construction. I started there as an intern between my junior and senior year of college, and I was working on a project in Marshalltown at the time at the Veterans Home over there. And so that project was a 2-year project, and we got done with my summer internship, and they said, if you have hours during the school year, you can work. We'll have you over here anytime you want. So I set up my schedule so I didn't have class on Fridays. And so throughout my senior year, I continued to work, and I just drive it was an hour to Marshalltown and work on that project. I got out of college, and they offered me a position, and within a couple of months of being back at Knutson, this project manager that was running that project left. And I was the one who knew the most about it in the field or in the office side. So they handed off that project to me to finish. And from there, I got to do some interesting stuff. Went down to Court Street and built a parking ramp that's right downtown. Went to Kinnick Stadium, and we did the south end zone with them. I was on site for that. That was a lot of long days and nights working there, because you remember they tore down the south end zone at Kinnick after the last game in November, and we had to have it done by the end of August so that it was ready for the opener. And so you talk about a crazy fast-paced schedule that had working 2 shifts, sometimes 3, with the crews down there to get it done. And then beyond that is just a lot of things around town and Cedar Rapids. I know I've talked to you before. I did a project up at Linn-Mar, their stadium. Always really proud of that one. just, I had a couple of years that I went from Linn-Mar to Von Mar, did a Von Mar remodel, and then I went to Lynn Hall at Kirkwood. I just kept following these projects that all seemed to tie together. But it was, I learned a lot and got to see a lot of different types of construction working at Knudsen.
What was your position?
So I started as a project engineer, is what they called basically a starting person in the office, and you're an assistant to the project manager. And then I became an assistant project manager and got up to project manager there. And so we always they've got great people there, and did a lot of neat projects.
I got to interject here. We got to talk about Shannon and your daughters. So tell us about your wife and your children. And
yeah, so I met my wife, Shannon, up at UNI.
Playing rugby?
through mutual West Branch friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she's a school teacher. She teaches second grade up in Cedar Rapids Prairie. And we've been married for 19 years. We've got a couple of daughters, one that's going to be a sophomore and the other's going to be 8th grade. And they keep me busy. We get a lot of fun. We do a lot of good stuff together.
Part of the Solon tribe, right?
Right.
Kids go to Solon.
Both girls are, they're totally different girls. My oldest daughter plays some sports, but then she's really into band and choir and the plays and stuff like that. And then my youngest daughter, Reese, she's more just into athletics and wants to do that. And that's fine. It's fun to be able to see it all.
All kinds, softball.
Yep,
basketball.
Softball, basketball, volleyball, track.
The whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So let's go back. So we got the family going here. You got commercial construction. So what interests you about the Watts Group way back when? How long's it been, by the way? I can't even remember.
It'll be 10 years in March that I've been here at Watts Group.
Seems like it was the other day.
Yeah, it does. So when I was at Knudsen, I still traveled a lot. And there was one point I was doing a project in California that I'd go out there for a couple of days, or Wisconsin, and or even just Waterloo. But it always just seemed to be a lot of road work. I didn't always feel like our projects were community based. We might have been doing something for the university, but it didn't feel like it was something that the community was really tied into. It was you're working for the U or somebody like that. And that was what really drew me to Watts Group, is I would say building communities. Be able to drive around, not only and look at big buildings and go, oh, look, there's South End Kinnick Stadium kids. I did helped on that project. It's more of driving into a new subdivision and saying, or subdivision that's 5 years old, and go, remember the girls when this was just a green field, and you guys came out and we were putting in streets, and now look at it, it's all filled with houses and all these families here, and this is their homes. It just that really drew me to Watts Group. And at the time you had a couple of big multifamily projects coming up, and I'd done a little bit of that at Knudsen. And I was probably the guy at Knudsen at the time that knew the most about wood frame construction because of my growing up in that industry. But coming over here was opened my eyes to how fast you can build a home, and how many of them go up in a year, and then in the multifamily stuff, how those buildings go together, and learning all the intricacies. Not just we do it once and I might not ever do it again. When it was you do one and then we're going to do another one in a year or two. So what you learned on that one, you learned it and applied to the next one. And each one, try and make it better, easier to go together, have the stuff all figured out long before you've ever started, rather than when it becomes a problem or shows up. So
how's your background helped you with what you do now?
I just really think that that commercial part that I got to see out of college really helps me with the heavy structurals type stuff. And then my residential background growing up helps when we get into the wood framing and all of those parts of it. It's very interesting to pull them all together.
So when you're working, and I want you to tell us a little bit about what you do at the Watts Group and your commercial area. And when you're working on a commercial project, you not only work with architects, you work with engineers, different kinds of engineers, structural engineers, site development. stormwater, water runoff. There's all kinds of things that go before you get it out of the ground. Estimation. Take us through, like you're going to build a building. What all goes into that thought process before you even break ground?
Yeah. So when we start looking at a piece of ground, we always, initially start looking at what the neighboring community looks like and what it needs, and then we're going to try and look at then if this is the right piece of property, what type of density can we get on it? What do we sell? What do we see can sell here or rent here? And then it's a very interesting thing for me is being able to bring in the architectural team and feed them our information. Like, here's what we're envisioning, kind of take our vision, expand upon it, and we're going to have a lot of input on what the units look like, the interior finishes, the exteriors too. It's much different than it is in the straight commercial market where the architects design in a vacuum and hand a set of drawings across to the bidders to bid and say, that's what I drew. Instead, there's a dialogue that we have. And in our office, we'll have it about what materials we like. And then we go to the architects and have the same conversation. Like, here's the brick that we're thinking, here's the siding or metal panels, whatever it is, and kind of feed them some information, but let them run with their design and do their part. In structural, it's the same way. We'll have a structural engineer come in and we talk about what we've done in the past and what might have worked well and if that applies to this building. And then a lot of times we'll bring in our subcontractors and say, what's the most economical way to do this? Working together, structural engineer, general contractor, and subcontractor, what's the best way we can do this for both performance and dollar? And, we go from there, and then a lot of times we're going to the city too to get their feedback. What's this look like? Is this what the city envisions here? And all the way through permitting, and then at that time, a lot of times I'm handing it off to a superintendent and saying, "Here you go. We've designed through all this. I'm going to try and pass along as much information as I can that I've collected during the design, and hand this off to you. And here's your subcontractors." With subcontracts, but please, start the conversations and let's get this thing rolling. And then through the project, I basically try to make sure that all the materials are ordered for the guys ahead of them, and that, like I said, the subcontracts are written so that the superintendents can just manage the project and their schedule and not be handcuffed or handicapped by anything I've done. And then just answer questions that they have, because there's a lot of times that all that information that was talked about during design doesn't get passed along to the guys, and they hit a point and they go, what were you guys thinking here? How was this curtain wall going to work in front of the elevator, or what's the idea? And I kind of go back and pass that along. And again, still working with city officials on making sure that our inspections are happening and that we're getting our COs and stuff like that and getting people moved in. So
CO, certificate of occupancy.
Yep.
So when people, I don't know if the public realizes this, how much goes into planning process. But you mentioned a little bit of it. So if you, like we're here in Old Town right now next to Riverview Plaza, tell us how long when you see a piece of ground or dirt, how long does it take to plan it before you break ground? Give us some of that thought process with the city officials, engineers, architects. Does it take a year or two? I mean, things just don't pop up in the next couple months, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of work that happens before projects usually gain a lot of public attention.
Right.
Solon's a good reference point for Trail Ridge. We started that concepts in 2019. Was it
really not that long ago?
Here it is.
Wow.
2023.
Yeah.
And we had our first closings this spring. Mm-hmm. So it was almost a full 2 years before we started building a foundation, because you got to go through all of the early designs, city approvals, P&Z, council approvals, and then full construction drawings, getting the subs in there to move dirt, and put all the utilities in the ground, pave the roads. And then, of course, you got to get the city to accept all those improvements, because as developers, we put in the streets and the improvements, the water lines, and then we turn around and you you give them to the city once they've accepted it, and then we can finally start thinking about building houses. But we also got to get the electric through, communications, the gas through the subdivision.
Phone lines, fiber optics.
Yeah, after you've done all the stuff for the city, and then you can start building houses. Houses. Our crews can push them out in 4 months and stuff like that. But it's all about timing too. What happens during the winter during subdivisions isn't usually a whole lot because you get froze out. But yeah, I mean, most of the time you're going to look at it's at least a year, even if it's a nicely planned subdivision. It's the next phase. It's a year from when you start thinking about it to when you're ready to turn it over to the guys to build houses.
Or minimum of a year.
Yeah.
Probably closer to 2 years. Time you plan it and go through all the municipal approvals.
Yes.
I don't think people realize that. I think they just drive in, they see a lot, I would just buy it. How would they know of all the work and the effort that went in even years before that, even looking at the ground? So we talked about buildings. Tell us, you just did briefly about you do site development in subdivisions. So tell us a little more about what your thoughts are on subdivisions. And then what do you think about Trail Ridge and Solon, and you drive through it now?
Sure.
From when you first saw it.
So on the subdivision side, that is something that I knew zero about when I came to work for you. I mean, that was, and you just said, here you go. Here's West Side Estates Phase 2. You need, I've already got the dirt work guys scheduled. From there on, it's yours to handle. And you've always done a really good job of surrounding yourself with really good subcontractors. And so they taught me through the process, or I learned a lot through that one. And it can be a struggle sometimes to get subdivisions going or through, depending on weather or approvals and things like that. But man, once they get done and you see the houses in them a few years later, hopefully you forget about how hard it was to get there. Trail Ridge Estates in Solon, I mean, that's one that there was a piece of ground that sat outside of town with a sign out front for sale for a year. And just finally one day, we all kind of collect ourselves and sit down and go, what about this piece of property? What could go out there? Let's, start concepting of how many houses we think we could get out there, what it would look like, how does it connect to town? How do the utilities connect to town? And now as I look at Trail Ridge and what's going on out there, I mean, it's probably next to Scanlon, they're probably very close to like the prettiest subdivisions that we put in as far as just the natural landscape around them. Conveniently, both of those back up to the Corps of Engineers and properties around the lake and stuff. Mm-hmm. But, of just figuring out where the stormwater goes and what the ponds will look like and how to make those an amenity. Trail Ridge has got ponds. It's got so much green space around the outside edge that's the Corps of Engineer grounds. We put the dog park down in there. We'll have other parks throughout this subdivision. And it's just, I think, it's again, a community. You're building a community out there.
Right. It's a lot more than just a piece of dirt and a lot.
Right.
It's the whole thing. Trails down to McBride. Mm-hmm. Bike trail, you can take that all the way to, I suppose you could go to Waterloo.
Yeah.
I never thought about that, up through C Street, Ely.
Hopefully someday that trail will go all the way to West Branch.
Yeah, right? Yeah, you never know. It is headed that way. Yeah. So yeah, it is, but I hadn't really thought that's been a 4-year process.
Yeah, I mean, until you look back at some of the files and you go, oh my gosh, 2019, we're just, noodling on this, right.
So you like being part of building communities because that is something 5, 10, 15 years, and you drive by and you think about all the work and effort went into it. Now people can just enjoy it and have beautiful lots, houses, great area. I think it's one of the better subdivisions that were put together.
Yeah.
It's Trail Ridge. It's beautiful.
Well, and even our Ridgeway Estates out in Tiffin, right. That was one that the purchase and city approval processes went pretty well, but again, it was a tough site to develop. And I think we all sat there and went, boy, this might take 5 years to fill in,
right.
And boy, it was we'd started building out there a year and a half, and we went, we better start planning the second phase, and here we are, and that started in 2018, and here we are in 23, and it filled. It's 5 years. Yeah, it seems like a long time from concept to the final, but that one, once we started building it, that really took off, like everything in Tiffin seems to.
And look at Tiffin now. I would have never envisioned that 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. Tiffin is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I just had Doug Bold on the other day, and we were just talking about all the amazing things in Tiffin. It was just interesting to listen to.
Yeah,
the growth. And then look at Solon. Solon's a 3A school now, great school system. And, I think when Trail Ridge has, about 200 lots, and it'll probably take 10, 15 years to fill, or who knows, Solon might go faster. But it's the place to be if you want to live inside the city limits.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing about Solon. You talk about the size of Solon, the size of the school. The size of Solon as a town really isn't that big.
Right.
I mean, if I remember, it used to be comparable to West Branch as far as city limits. There's just so many houses out on the lake, and outside of town. There's so much density tucked into those wooded areas and stuff that it's surprising how big that school is for how big the town is.
Right.
But
what is Solon, 1,000, 1,500 people? I don't even know.
Gosh, I don't. I think it's getting close to 3,000 if I remember the last time I saw that.
Yeah. I don't even
hopefully
know.
Austin can check for us here.
So you got commercial construction.
So 3,086.
3,000. See, what did I say? 1,500. I mean, I might have been 20 years ago.
It might have been. But Solon has really got it going on for downtown in the community. There's just so many amenities out there. That location, distance between Iowa City and Cedar Rapids, it's impressive. You and I had breakfast at Bluebird last week, and it wasn't that busy on a Friday morning, but I said, you should see this place on a Saturday or Sunday.
It's packed.
There'll be a line out here at 11 o'clock.
And Big Grove's always full. It's just fabulous. So.
Yeah.
So you got commercial construction going on. You got apartment buildings, a little bit of commercial going on. You've got subdivisions. Sounds like you do site development. Tell us a little more about site development when you're doing the construction of the streets, sewer and water, grading. How does that work?
Yeah, so when we buy a green piece of dirt, usually the first thing we've got to do is strip off all the topsoil, get that piled into piles where hopefully we don't have to move dirt. I'm thinking of Founders Grove and Ely. We had a lot of dirt to move to take the crown off of the top of a hill and make it a little more buildable site. Then the dirt work guys are just in there by themselves for usually a couple of months, maybe 3 months, depending, shifting dirt around on the site. We always try to balance the site so that we're not hauling dirt off or that we have to haul in dirt to make the subdivision work.
How important is that to balance it?
It's really important, dollar-wise always, and it always helps if possible if we can start on the top side and work to the lower so that if we have extra dirt coming out of basements, hopefully it fits in the next areas and we're not hauling out every basement too. But so we leave the dirt work guys in there, let them get everything graded out. They grade in the future streets, and then we'll turn it over to the utility contractor who's going to come in and put in sanitary sewer. That's usually the deepest and has to follow a specific direction. They follow that with storm sewer, which goes to all of our retention ponds. And some cities allow us to put the water in before we pave, others don't. So depending on that, you either pave next or get the street graded out, pave it, and then they fall back in and do water services, and then we backfill everything, respread all that black dirt that we've, salvaged before the project started, and
seed it
in,
silt fences,
set all the lot pins, establish every, lot line and all that in town or in our subdivision, I guess, and then we turn it back over to the electrical and gas and fiber contractors that come through and put the services in for our new subdivision.
Speaking of that, how did the supply chain affect that? Transformer boxes and things.
Boy, yeah, that was an interesting 2022 as we were finishing with a couple of subdivisions, and we start finding out that the electrical providers can't get transformers, and it wasn't specific to one provider. We work with multiple, and we were getting the same feedback from 3 different electrical providers. We don't have transformers. There's a shortage, and I forget which specific metal it is that goes into them that was the issue. But yeah, I mean, we were just scrounging and begging, writing very polite letters to our senators to make sure that they knew that there was something going on in that industry that they were struggling with, and if there's anything they can do, not that we wanted them to call Mid-America or Alliant and complain. We wanted our senators to reach out whoever's supplying that stuff to try and help release the supply chain issues.
So you got a subdivision built, no power.
Yeah,
no gas.
We had to make some strategic decisions on some of our subdivisions about where we put the transformers and how they run the service for where we want to start, knowing that they didn't have enough transformers to supply our whole new the subdivision that we just put in. Thankfully, they've caught up, and even just this morning, I was talking to one of the gentlemen that helps do that at Linn County REC, and he was saying it started to ease up a little bit, but he did say, whenever they allow us, we order as many as we can, and so I think that's starting to correct itself, although we've seen issues like that relating to just our building-specific breakers, and it's usually the biggest breaker that there is. We had one that took 54 weeks on one of our commercial projects. We could see exactly when it was ordered, and it was just a matter of waiting for it, and trying to find a creative way to build a building on temporary power. I hope that all that stuff's starting to clear up and catch up, and I think we are starting to see a little bit of relief on that. Although I did hear something the other day on a university project that's coming up that the transformers for that project were over 100 weeks out. It was like, how do you plan for that?
Yeah, it is amazing. So you got back to commercial construction, subdivision development. Talk about tenant improvements. You're starting to do some of that kind of business. What's that involve?
Yeah, so a lot of those tenant improvements that we're seeing, it's little offices that are still, people are starting to come back to work in the office,
right?
And so they're starting to see some of that come back, whether it just be moving people that want to move down to IRL or financial offices. We're starting to see that come back, and a lot of times it's in a new vanilla shell where it's just a white box, and you walk in and put all the walls in where you want them and stuff. Other times you're going in, you got to do the demo first, and then fit it to a specific need of a client. Well, this space we're in here, we did this remodel in here, which was, I think this was a 2,000 square foot interior design office, and we decided to make it into our real estate office. So again, we were in here, kind of tearing everything back down to the studs, fitting it out exactly how we want it. And so, we've done everything from small restaurants to medical type offices. We've been lucky enough to do a couple of prosthetic type places. Interestingly enough, right here in this area. So we're game for anything when it comes to tenant improvements, or somebody's looking to move their office or wants to open a new sub shop, something like that. We'll take a look at that. We've got the guys. The thing that makes us really competitive when it comes to that is our guys can also self-perform some of the work. So I'm not going to assign a superintendent to a project that's just going to sit in his truck and read plans and make phone calls. If there's certain parts of the project that we can do ourselves, and that guy's there anyways, we're going to have him doing that to make him productive both in supervision and getting units put into place and helping the project move along.
So did you have to learn the TI improvement business, or how did that fit in with your skill set in commercial?
It's just that mix of it's kind of, sometimes it's like commercial, sometimes it's more like residential, depending on what the building type is that you're going into, and so it's just mingling those things together and figuring out how which each project's going to be like depending on the building. We get in some of those buildings at IRL and everything's steel studs, and that gets you into a different contractor group. Then we'll do some in standalone buildings, and it's wood frames, so it's like you're looking for a residential framer to come in and build those walls out for you, stuff like that.
So when you look at your business or your commercial area, is there anything you can't build?
Gosh, you and I talk about this sometimes. Maybe hospitals,
right?
We'll let that go, and but gosh, beyond some of that, no. And we've done daycares, we've done, so we've done education, we've done hospitality, we've done office, you know, we've done light medical, if you want to call it that. So I think there's just about anything we can get into that's not hospital.
Tell us about the latest project you finished up. Was a project of, I think it was 111 units in New Bone, Cedar Rapids. Talk about your team a little bit. Talk about your leadership qualities, and talk about how 111 units, I think it was. I think it was a 12 to 14-month build time. A lot of people didn't think it'd get done August 1. It did, of course. Tell us a little bit about the group that you work with and how you got that done. I think the rental team right now is 75% or so full. But just tell us a little bit more about that project in New Bow, Cedar Rapids.
So New Bow Lofts, like you said, is a 111 unit apartment building. The first floor is all parking. There's small entryway and elevator, but above that, it's 111 units of rental and a fitness facility. That project we took over from somebody else that had, I'd say, started the idea, but we still followed our same path where we got involved with the architects. We started the design. It's another one of those, again, where those early conversations helped us out because we were thinking it would have been precast walls up to first floor and then precast floor above the garage. But upon finding out about supply chain issues and stuff like that, we found out that wall panels for precast were 14 months out, something like that. It didn't work for our schedule. So we brought in our subcontract team and said, what can we do then to fix this, or what's another option? And so we ended up doing cast-in-place walls on that. And again, it's all about having a strong team. Steve Stewart, who was our superintendent up there, did a great job. He was focused on that project from the get-go, knowing that it was going to be a challenge. We sat down and put together the project schedule originally, and we were showing an August 15th completion. We thought that was just people stacked on top of each other the whole way through. And you kind of gave us a challenge of August 1st is really when we want to start leases. And so we took that, sat down with our project team, their subs that had looked at the project, and said, guys, all right, Steve and I took our schedule, shortened it up a couple of weeks. I think we probably shortened it 3 weeks, so that gave us a little bit of fluff on that before the August 1st date. And can we do this? How can we do this? And got everybody to buy in. Of if we all row together and everybody plays nice, we can make this happen. And if we do, it's going to be a really impressive thing. And everybody stepped up to the challenge. When we look back at that project, all of our subcontractors, did what we asked them to do. And the city helped us a lot too. The city inspectors were great up in Cedar Rapids on that project. There were a lot of times, they didn't want to really necessarily inspect part of a floor, but we needed them to. The floors were large enough that we needed to be able to inspect 10 units so that we could start insulating and drywalling while they continued rough in further down that hallway. And the city inspectors really helped us out with that and help, like I said, get us going and keep the ball rolling. Once we got past the rough in phase on that thing, man, drywall to paint to flooring to trim, those guys were just, right on top of each other throughout the whole building, just working their way down. There was always the next step ready for them to move right down to. We know we had some doubters, and it was, like I said, it was a tall task. We want to make a good impression in Cedar Rapids, and I feel like we did everything the right way up there. We went hard. We didn't run over anybody. Everybody did their part, and to see those people move in. We got the CO on that building on the 27th of July, and then to see everybody move in on the 1st, it was like watching people move into a dorm. It was unlike any move-in that we've seen down here in Iowa City. Maybe in Coralville and Iowa City, they do a little bit more staggered, but everybody wanted to be in that building that first day, which felt really good for us. And we sat there and, had construction guys available just in case somebody went in and found something that wasn't right in their unit, and we might have had to adjust a couple of doorknobs that day, but that was it. And it was just a very rewarding project. Just, again, knowing that originally we put the schedule together and Steve and I went, boy, I don't know if we can do this. It's going to be really hard. And we had a lot of things go our way. The weather this spring and this summer was, unfortunately, it was really dry for the farmers, but for us, that worked out really well. We didn't lose many days with the guys working outside, with the masons, any of that stuff because of weather. Even now, we're just still finishing up some of the landscape stuff around, and we got an inch of rain for the first time in a long time. But that site, you can't tell. I mean, we're right back on it a day later. So, there were a lot of things that lined up for us. Like I said, a lot of great team players in there, and our subs and our suppliers, city. And it's just, like I said, very rewarding that we made it. And there's 75, 76, I think, people living in there now, or units out of 111. And we've talked internally. We think it's just a matter of time that those will fill up. Newbo is a very desirable place to be, and it really is just a new corner of the community that we created down there with this building.
You took a project that I think was in the works in a past developer 4 or 5 years, and I think we took it. We were underway, started working on it, and decided to do it after a couple months of looking at it, and then we tore into it, made it happen. So, but we've been working on that for a couple of years now?
Yeah.
Or more, 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah, and it
something
was
like that when we first heard about it.
It was challenging from the beginning. We were pushing the design team. Like, you got to get these drawings done so we can start. We can get a permit.
Right. But it has been a team effort. And then also kudos to Cedar Rapids. You talked about the inspectors. I think some of them probably thought, you guys are going to have this done by August 1, but they just didn't know the Watts Group. It will be done.
I think there might have been some of our subcontractors, even some of the guys on site that thought, we're nuts. There's no way.
Yeah. So if you're a young person listening to this or thinking about getting into construction like you did, what would be some things? And I know you're active in the home builders and in Johnson County here, and actually Cedar Rapids, you're part of a member of that group too. Tell us what you'd tell a young person that wants to get into construction, what they should do.
There's a lot of opportunities coming back. Unfortunately, in the late 90s, early 2000s, they pulled out a lot of the construction classes out of the high schools. But there are great regional centers around this area with the Kirkwood's got, with Washington and Iowa City. And so there's opportunities for those kids, even if they don't have them available in their school district, to take them at the regional centers to learn more. And I would always say, try it out where in high school. Make sure you get an idea for it. There is really good opportunity to make good income if you're willing to work hard in construction. There's so many jobs available. The boomers are retiring, and there's just, again, so many different opportunities. Whether you want to go into a field that's, electrical or mechanical or something like that, or if you want to do shingling or siding or any of that concrete, everybody's looking for workers. If you see any of our subcontractors' trucks, most of them have a sign on them that says "Now hiring." Right. And I think if anything, in the last couple of years, we've learned that every kid doesn't have to go to college.
Right.
It's not for everybody, and they can still make a very good living if they're interested in construction. Right. So just, again, work with your guidance counselors. Start at if you don't have in your school, go to the regional centers. There's always subcontractors or contractors in towns that are willing to, give kids a taste of it, whether it be for a summer or, weekends, whatever it might be, to see if it's something that they want to do. Even if it's doing a job shadow, kids just get out there and do it, and see what it's all about. Again, I don't want to tell kids that they can't go to college and come back to work construction like I did, because you can. But I would definitely say get a taste for it. You need to know what happens in the field, even if you're going to go to college and want to work in the office in construction.
So do you hire interns?
We've done very well hiring interns through Kirkwood, through the construction management program. We've had job shadows, high schoolers come through and hang out, or just guys doing summer work for us. But that has definitely been the clear path to get in at Watts Group has been internships lead to jobs.
Then you get your feet wet. It might be a thought to start at Kirkwood, then head to UNI. Finish up with that degree. And what's that degree called at UNI?
It's a construction management degree. Yeah.
Also, UNI, I've talked before, has a real estate program that's amazing for commercial and investment property. It's more commercial than residential, but I think you can get a four-year degree in real estate.
Yes.
Also, if you're interested in that. So got some good things happening at UNI.
Yeah.
Alma mater, huh? So anything else you'd like to share and talking about commercial or your background or family or what's happening?
I think I've just been really lucky to grow up around a big city that has a lot of opportunities for construction, whether it be residential and commercial, and was, shown those very early. So I had a really good idea. And in industry, but specifically in construction, if you get in somewhere and you work hard, and even if you want to do something else within construction, they're always going to be able to find you the next person that, or somebody else to work for if that's what you want to do, or give you a great reference if you want to move from framing into trim carpentry or something like that. There's so many opportunities in construction for kids around here. Actually just kids. I mean, if you're just looking to change fields of work and do something that you feel might be more rewarding. I mean, the thing about construction, everything you do, there's always completion. You get done and you can step back and look at it and say, look, I was a part of that. And like I said, drive your kids around town and say, I helped on that one. I helped on that one. There's a piece of you in the community.
I think it's a great opportunity. I think the key word you got to work. And I think if in any of the trades, if you want to work, it's to me a great opportunity. So
yeah.
Well, Adam, thanks a lot. This has been fun. I appreciate everything you do in the commercial group at Watts Group, and hopefully people have listened and got some good ideas from our conversation. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.